Hey everyone, Gill Gross here. Post-match, Aryna Sabalenka versus Ons Jabeur, Wimbledon 2023 semifinals. If you're not here for spoilers, click off the video in 3, 2, 1. Huge win for Jabeur in 3 sets from down a set and a break. She comes back to win and make her second straight Wimbledon final. This was a highly dramatic, highly entertaining match where it felt like the stakes were enormous, and as a result, the mental game, I think, was very, very crucial. And we'll start with Jabeur, who I think needs to win Wimbledon if she's going to win a major in her career. Obviously, Saturday is going to be a massive opportunity against Marketa Vondrousova. She'll come in as the favorite. But even if you asked me before this tournament, is Ons Jabeur going to win a major? I would have said, yeah, but I think it needs to be Wimbledon. And I don't know that with the current state of the WTA Tour, where it is harder than it has been in past years to win a major because of how good Rybakina, Sabalenka, and Swiatek are. And then you look at, Jabeur, whose worst surface is hard court, clay. I don't see it. Wimbledon. It's got to be Wimbledon. So she's also 27 years old. There's not that many chances. Once every 4 years, if we're going to break it down like that. So this was very important. And she was in a hole. She went down a set in 4-2. I don't think she played horribly. There were definitely some mistakes in the first set that I think she would rue, but I don't think she played horribly. But what was key was that from there, she did not go dark. She did not get negative. And that is something that we have certainly seen from her in the past. And I don't know if her off-court personality, which is happy, lots of smiles, lots of kindness, lots of jokes, comedy, charm, minister of happiness, I don't know if that has gotten in the way of the narrative when it comes to Ons Jabeur, that she has always had a real problem with staying positive when things get hard, when things get bad in tennis matches. And she's worked really hard on making that better. She talked about it after the match. She has a mental coach on board, and they're trying to fix this. And no match was that more evident than this one, when she played great tennis from down a set in 4-2 to claw her way back to win the second set and to stay the course in the third with continued success. And then there's Sabalenka, who was in a tough spot mentally coming into this match, I will admit. After blowing a 5-2 third set lead in the Roland Garros semifinal to drop her record in major semifinals to 1-4. I would have thought, after the Australian Open experience, maybe the semifinal thing would be over and done with. But then the Muchova match happened, and now this happened, and now suddenly she is 1-5 in major semifinals, and I believe in either all 5 losses or in 4 out of the 5 losses, she has blown a legitimate lead in those matches. Not to mention, #1 ranking was on the line. She's never been #1 in the world, and maybe that added to the pressure that Sabalenka felt coming in. And look, what happened? She played great tennis. I was so impressed with the things she was doing on the court, but she couldn't hold it together under pressure. In particular, I would like to highlight 2 key forehands that got away in the second set. Both of them were game points. One of them was a break point, but we'll start with 4-3 in the second set when she had a game point, add in, hit a good first serve, had, a forehand all day, middle of the court, and mistimed it, trying to go inside out, and it goes wide. On the next point, she would miss her first serve. She would bounce the ball off of her foot before hitting the second serve, and at that point I was like, uh-oh, are we about to see a double fault? Yes, we saw a double fault, and Jabeur got the break. Then in the next game, Sabalenka did do well to kind of stay the course. Remember, at this point, I still think she was playing pretty good tennis because Jabeur did play a very good game at 4-3. At 4-all, Sabalenka got off to love 30, and then she got a break point at 30-40. She hit a really good backhand down the line redirect, And, it set up a forehand where she had, again, lots of time to set up, like all day, and bungled it badly. Forehand down the line, it went way long. And you take those forehands, which were not difficult forehands, and you make them into good forehands. And Sabalenka, it's hard to say for sure, but she probably wins the match. She obviously, either way, is going to have a chance to serve for the match if she executes one of those forehands. But it wasn't to be. What happens to Sabalenka under pressure is her feet stop moving. And on those two forehands, on one of them, her contact point was too far out in front. And then, when your contact point goes bad, your balance goes bad. So she ended up falling forward as she hit the forehand. That was the first one. Then on the second one, she again got her footwork wrong, but it was the opposite problem. Her contact point was too deep in the hitting zone. So she let the ball get behind her. And instead of falling forward, she fell backward. And, it's really all about the feet for Sabalenka under pressure. She gets it wrong and her ball sprays and she makes mistakes. And that's what happened to Sabalenka. But there's a parallel universe where, I'm praising her. If she just maintained her level and didn't make those crucial mistakes, I'd be praising her about how her power game really discourages Jabeur's creativity and that she has, really better touch than you think, and that she does a lot of really good things from low contact points for a tall player, 5'11". She does a good job of getting down low with her legs, and she generates great RPM with her forehand, which enables her to create offense from the low contact point. And even her backhand slice isn't bad. But, instead she just made those, again, very significant unforced errors. That said, Jabeur did do some things in terms of turning around her game and making things more difficult on Jabeur. I think the biggest thing was the return of serve. In the first set, yes, she was missing a lot of returns, but even when she was making them, there were a lot of chip returns, a lot of block returns. And because Sabalenka generates so well from a stationary position, her power, when she's able to set her feet, actually get her footwork right, get her contact point right, and rip a ball, it's the most overwhelming power in all of women's tennis from that kind of position. And if you chip your returns, it's difficult to deal with Sabalenka's plus ones. If she had less power, then there would be a better argument for that. Now you just have to hope that she misses. And that did happen. We'll get to that in a second. But it's better to actually hit the return fast enough to rush Sabalenka's plus one, which, by the way, isn't that hard to do because Sabalenka has massive takebacks and can be a little bit slow to get her feet in position. So if you are able to hit fast returns, you get great purchase out of it. So that was an adjustment that Jabeur made. A lot of slow chips to, faster drive returns. You look at the 4-5 game in the second set, there was a return plus one backhand down the line winner for Jabeur at 15-love. And then at 30-15, there was a return that she hit almost to the backhand body, or backhand middle, I should say, of Sabalenka. And Aryna said, "Oh, great, I'll run around and hit my forehand." And then she got all jammed up. And she got all jammed up because the return had pace. If the return was slow, she would have had that extra time to make the space and hit the forehand inside out effectively. And then, this was a second serve, but on set point, Jabeur hits a backhand down the line winner. So that's 3 highly damaging returns, and we started to see that more and more as the match progressed midway through the second set and on through the third. But as I mentioned, another big part of it was just volume of returns in play. The 2-3 game was a really long game with 4 deuces, and Sabalenka didn't get a single free point in a service game that had 4 deuces. That's unbelievable. Not only that, but there were also a lot of plus one unforced errors, which is the benefit of just taking a great serve and making it go from a service winner to, sometimes an easy plus one ball. But Sabalenka was in a state of mind here she was at a point in the match where she was missing sometimes. So, at love 15, I have a Sabalenka serve plus forehand unforced error. At deuce, I have a serve plus backhand unforced error. Now, this one was a particularly egregious miss where Sabalenka was well inside the court. It was really a sitter that she missed wide on the backhand. And then at deuce, same thing. Serve plus forehand cross court, unforced error. I remember this one as well. She had all day to set up for it. And again, she missed it wide. Now, you just wish that Sabalenka would understand how phenomenal her power is. And that because her power is so great, you don't have to miss wide. You don't have to play that close to the sideline. Now, this is not in line with the theme that I was talking about, but I also want to talk about the break point that was set up by Sabalenka's serve plus forehand cross-court wide, unforced error, which was a break point where Jabeur did get a hard first serve return in to mitigate and dispel Sabalenka's +1 aggression. And then from there, Jabeur kept the ball very, very low to Sabalenka's backhand. And on the first three balls, the first 2 or 3 balls, Sabalenka hit backhand slice to deal with the low contact point. And then at a certain point, as is usually the case with Sabalenka, her timer kind of goes off, her shot tolerance timer. Once you hit the 8th ball of the rally, it's like, okay, it's time to end this, time to do damage. And Sabalenka, despite the ball still being low, tried to drive it, and it went long. As good as I think Sabalenka is on the forehand dealing with the low contact point because she gets the heavy RPM, on the backhand where she can't quite get the same RPM, I don't think she's quite as good. And most of her balls, when she's missing with the backhand, were long because she didn't have the topspin to bring the ball down into the court. So that was the break point in the third set, and Jabeur would hold from there. The last thing I want to talk about was Jabeur's pace absorption and redirection skills, which was somewhat of a problem in the first set tiebreak, where I thought that Jabeur had an opportunity to defend a lot of balls and make some returns after going up 4-2 in the first set tiebreak and just missed some neutralizations that I thought she really should have made. But there was a certain point in the match where Jabeur started to get rock solid, not only on the return of serve, but absorbing the pace of Sabalenka and redirecting, particularly with her backhand down the line, which started to become by far the best ground stroke on the court. And this comes down to kind of grass court baseline dynamics, where what Jabeur was able to do was use the speed of the court and use the speed of Sabalenka's ball to, take that pace and use it against Aryna, which she's able to do with her short takebacks and her very abbreviated, simple technique, her great hand-eye coordination, her great timing, and she can play very flat, middle, down the line, and it ends up staying low and quick and, putting Sabalenka on the run. To the point where a lot of the time it looked like Sabalenka was rushing herself, where she would be moved into the corners or on the run, and she would hit the ball so hard at Jabeur that Aryna was not able to cover the court from there. Because she had no time to get to the middle. The ball was on the ball was on Jabeur's racket before Sabalenka had even recovered from hitting on the run, because she sometimes does take a little bit of time to stop and go the other direction. And it just seemed like Sabalenka, whenever she was kind of moving, was in a pretty vulnerable position because she was hitting the ball so hard all the time. And sometimes when you're compromised and when you're trying to play defense, you really have to take pace off the ball so that you can give yourself some time to position yourself and prepare for the next shot. But, Jabeur being a master of redirecting and absorbing pace, I mean, she was eating that up. She was saying, thank you very much for hitting the ball hard. Again, on grass, power is not at a premium as much as timing is, because somebody who has the power of Jabeur, that's plenty on grass. You don't need more power. She can hit through the court. She can hit baseline winners. She can do damage from behind the baseline. You don't need to hit as big as Sabalenka to do those things. But what you do need to do on grass is want to be able to absorb the pace that's coming from the court. And also you have to be able to change direction to take control of the point. And Jabeur is better at that than Sabalenka. She's able to do it more often. She's able to do it without missing because she's more precise and she has better timing with her small takebacks and her great balance. Sabalenka has these big takebacks and sometimes disorganized footwork and some questionable balance. And that makes it hard for her to hit precise redirections. Power at a premium. Sorry, power not at a premium. Timing is. I'm looking forward to this final, which is going to be a great head-to-head between two players who really rely on craftsmanship and racket skills and deep repertoire and variety. It's going to be great between Jabeur and Vondrousova. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.